All right, welcome everybody to our opening day of the United States Association of Blind Athletes National Blind Sports Week, presented by Healthy Vision Association. My name is Bill Kellick. I'm the Marketing and Public Relations Manager for USABA. And this afternoon, we're going to experience a youth perspective on the vital role sports play in promoting physical activity, confidence, and well-being among school-aged children and young adults. We're so excited you can all join us in this interactive session. Feel free to introduce yourself to other participants in the Zoom chat or in the Facebook comments section. And also share what you plan on doing to celebrate National Blind Sports Week and National Blind Sports Day this Saturday, October 3rd. This session will be recorded and posted on the USABA Facebook page, so you can watch it later or share it with anyone who could not attend the live session. So without further ado, I'm pleased to introduce our guest for this session, 18-year-old Bailey Martin from Hubbard, Iowa. So welcome, Bailey.
Hi, everyone. I'm so happy to be speaking with you today, and thank you so much for USABA for inviting me to speak. I am so excited. So as you guys heard, I am Bailey Martin. I have always grown up on a farm right outside of Hubbard, Iowa. I am a senior at South Hamilton High School and will thankfully be graduating in December. So to start off, I really want to tell you guys my story and how I got involved with everything. It all started when I was 12 years old and happened to be laying down and covered up my left eye, to which I noticed I couldn't see anything out of my right eye. Now, my parents thought it might have been a blood leakage of some sort, so they immediately rushed me to the emergency room where they proceeded to do some testing, but the doctors there really weren't concerned. They really thought it might have just been a migraine of some sort. So they said if it didn't go away or I didn't regain my vision by Monday, to go into our local eye clinic and just get things checked out and maybe do a more thorough search. So as you guys might have guessed, it didn't get better by Monday. And so we went to our local eye doctor and they ran some tests and noticed I had a scar forming in my right eye. They didn't have the technology at the time to do a complete thorough search, so they referred me to Iowa City, where if you haven't been to Iowa, that's where the Children's Hospital is, and that's where you really go if you have a major problem that your local doctors really can't figure out. Once we got to Iowa City, they told me that there was indeed a scar, but that it wouldn't spread to my left eye, and it was likely just a virus and just a fluke thing. A few months later, I was eating breakfast and noticed that my contact was really bothering my left eye. This was after I had lost the vision in my right eye, thinking that everything was fine and normal, and my life had basically returned back to normal. So I was eating breakfast, the contact was bothering me, and I went upstairs to take it out. And as soon as I took out my contact, the vision in the central and lower part of my vision were gone. My mom immediately called Iowa City, and after running some more tests, they decided that part of my retina had dissolved. They didn't know what was causing it or how this all started, since I'd always had 20/20 vision and there was nothing genetic or hereditary in my family that would have caused this. So they sent me to a specialist in Chicago that works with rare diseases, and he really works with diagnosing people. And we drove all the way there, and we sat in his office and he flipped through the paperwork and he ran his own tests and eventually decided I had acute macular neuroretinopathy. You probably haven't heard of that diagnosis because only 60 people have ever had it, and it's extremely rare, and you really don't hear or see it. It's a once in a lifetime thing. That's at least what my eye doctors tell me. So after hearing the news that I wasn't going to regain my vision, I became severely depressed and anxious to even leave my room. My family was absolutely incredible during this time for the fact that they let me grieve my loss of vision, but they encouraged me to get out of my room and continue living my life to the fullest. They didn't want me stuck in my room and being sad. They wanted me to get out and become my normal, bubbly self again. I decided I didn't want my newfound condition to ruin my life, but it instead helped me grow stronger in my faith, and I decided to once again take hold of my life. During the summer of losing my vision, I continued riding my horse and actually showed her at our local 4-H fair. And I quickly learned that if I can ride a 1,200-pound animal around a show ring and get it to do what I want, I can continue playing sports no problem. So this all happened in 6th grade. So in the beginning of our new school year, which would have been the beginning of my 7th grade year, I decided to go out for cross country. I decided I would pick the hardest sport to do with little to no vision and went for it. I was determined to prove myself wrong and be my own competition. Cross country was a struggle for me, but I was excited to have completed the season with absolutely no guide. I did it completely myself. My next challenge I set for myself was track. I've ran track ever since kindergarten and have always loved it. And a little background about my school. The school that I go to, you actually run track, known as Willis-Well for elementary age kids. You run from preschool all the way through 6th grade at Willis-Well Relays. And then from 7th and 8th grade, you move on to middle school track. And then, of course, in 9th and 12th grade, through 9th and 12th grade, you do high school track. I was 110% determined not to let anything stand in my way from having a good season, continuing to race, and continuing to be competitive. I've always loved the feeling of waking up and barely being able to move your legs from a tough training session the previous day, and I didn't want to lose that because I felt if I lost that, I'd lose a sense of my identity. So my first year of track, I ran the 4x800, 800 meter, 4x4, 4x2, 200 meter, and long jump. I was and still am addicted to getting better and pushing myself, so much so that my 7th grade year, just after losing my vision, I decided to run hurdles, which went decent, I will say. Wasn't the best at it, but I gave it a go. So that summer of my 7th grade year, through a friend, I was connected to a beat baseball team, which led me to competing in the World Series in 2016. Through this sport, I learned that it was okay to fall down and get hurt. It's all about attitude and learning to pick yourself up after you fall. Now, this team also led me to know the importance of community and really having people by your side that support you through anything. Which leads me to Iowa Braille School. I've been a part of that for 5 years, which has led me to meeting some incredible people with some incredible stories. I love these people like family, and they've always been there supporting me through everything. Through the Braille School competitions, I got connected with the USA Women's Go Ball team, and I have gone to a few of their clinics and learned a lot about myself as an athlete, but also as a person. About a year and a half ago, I also had the amazing opportunity to go to Colorado and be a part of the Emerging Stars camp at the Olympic and Paralympic Center. It was here I truly learned that I wanted to go to the Paralympics and be a professional athlete more than anything in the world. Now that I knew I wanted to go to the Paralympics for sure, I had to decide what sport. My gut said track, and I felt reassured about that feeling when Kathy Sellers reached out to be my coach. I met Kathy at the Emerging Stars camp, and to be honest, I did have a bit of a fangirl moment when she reached out to talk to me about being a coach. For the last several months, Kathy and I have worked closely when deciding what my training sessions consist of, especially after dealing with a major shoulder surgery just a few weeks ago. Along with wanting to write down all my training sessions and everything, I love writing down short and long-term goals, and I actually still have a long and short-term goal sheet I wrote when I was at the Olympic and Paralympic Center. I keep it hanging up so during hard times I can maintain my focus and remember why I'm doing what I'm doing and why I'm pushing myself. A few of you may know that in the beginning of 2020, I had an incredible opportunity. I flew across the world to Spain, where I was able to be a part of a product launch called Or Can My Eye and meet a famous athlete named Messi. Here, I was able to meet people from all over the world, and actually, for the first time in 7 years since I lost my vision, I was able to meet someone with the same eye condition. We were able to connect and tell each other stories, and we actually talk almost daily, even though she's in France. Orcam, my eye, not only gave me a new friend, but it also gave me a device that has completely changed my day-to-day life. I'm able to read anything from textbooks for school, books for free time, science, money, and even up to 100 faces that the device will recognize for me. It was absolutely incredible and amazing to meet Messi and hear him tell his story. He told us of the challenges he faced both on and off the court, and it inspired me to keep pushing myself in sports. I also had the chance to meet a multi-Paralympic athlete from Japan who plays soccer. He was inspired by my story and was excited for my future. So he gave me a five-a-side soccer ball and said to keep practicing, and that one day he hopes to see me again at one of the games. I would also love, at the end of this, I would love to give some advice and tips for those younger athletes that I really wish that I would have had when I was starting out and getting into sports. My number one tip would definitely be to go for it. Everything is a learning opportunity. Even if it doesn't turn out the way you expect it, it's still a learning opportunity. And whether it goes bad, you're learning what not to do or what to do. And then if it goes good, you know how to get there again. Another thing I want to touch on is write down your goals at the beginning of each week and make it a point to accomplish them. Don't just brush them off and forget about it. Just do them. I would also like to say, don't be afraid to ask questions and be the first to reach out. For me personally, that's been something I really have to work on and focus on because I'm not normally the one to ask questions. I really like going along with the flow, but I've really learned that a lot of people are also wondering those questions and they won't get answered unless someone asks them. And lastly, I want to say to always have a positive attitude no matter what the outcome is. Everything happens for a reason. And if I learned anything through losing my vision and having to find myself as an athlete and as a person again, I would say having a positive attitude is the best way to go about things. Thank you.
Fantastic words of advice there, Bailey. Really thank you for that, and great tips to everybody listening. Anybody who'd like to ask a question in the Zoom session, please post it in the Q&A section or on Facebook in the comment section. But Bailey, I have a few to get the question and answer session started. You touched on it a little bit, but as a young girl, what was your first inclination to get involved in sports?
So I've always loved sports. I've always played sports. And when I lost my vision, I really just didn't want to lose myself. I felt like I had already lost so much of who I was, and I was determined not to let that part of me go. I wanted to be an athlete still. I wanted to continue. And if anything, it gave me a sense of normalcy in my life because I didn't have to give up stuff. And through running cross country and riding my horses and playing track and swimming and soccer and goalball, I've really learned that I can push through anything if I can complete just one task at a time.
That's great. And you talked about some of your short-term goals, including becoming a Paralympian. Mm-hmm. Have you thought about some long-term goals into adulthood and how sports is going to play a role in your life beyond maybe your competitive days?
Yes, I would love to really help younger children and even teenagers achieve their dreams. I really want to go to college for English teaching and possibly some coaching as well. And so I would just love to be able to help give kids a foundation to work off of and really help them grow in their confidence in their athletic ability and give them someone to always talk to.
Great. And you mentioned, getting involved with your high school in sports mm-hmm. and how hard that may be for some. What advice would you give to other high school age athletes who are trying to integrate into their high school sports scene?
I would say reach out and speak up. No one's going to know you want to do it unless you say something. I would definitely talk to either your principal or guidance counselor about looking for accommodations if you need it. Otherwise, I would say just go for it. You're never going to know unless you try, and you're only in high school for 4 years. So if you learn you love it now, you can work to build that foundation to pursue it possibly even after high school, maybe in college sports, but you're never going to know unless you try.
Great, and obviously trying a variety of sports is key, and you experienced that last summer at the USABA Emerging Stars Camp at the US Olympic and Paralympic Training Center. You talked a little bit about it, but obviously that camp had a big effect on you, not only with clarifying what your goals and dreams would be, but also talk about, there was a variety of sports that the 20 athletes that were selected, including yourself, participated in. Talk about the sports that you got to experience during that camp and maybe one or two that you hadn't tried before.
Yeah, so we played a variety of sports. We did swimming, track and field. We got to experience throwing the disc and long jump and everything like that. We also did skiing and shooting, and we did play some goal ball, and I believe we did get a few glimpses into soccer, and also being a triathlon. We got to take part in little bits and pieces of that type of training.
Were there any sports that you hadn't participated in before?
The skiing and shooting, I'm terrible at anything to do with skiing or snowboarding, so that was definitely an experience in itself.
Yeah, and you mentioned obviously meeting Kathy Sellers at the camp.
Mm-hmm.
She's the director of Paralympic track and field, former director, and she will actually be on our lineup this Friday talking about track and field and an introduction to that. But yeah, talk a little bit more about what you obviously knew her before the camp, and then you said it was kind of like a big thrill to meet her at the camp.
Yeah, so it was absolutely incredible to meet her. I had known about her for quite a while. After losing my vision and stuff, I always watched Paralympians at the Paralympic Games and just followed them at their meets. And Kathy's name definitely showed up for a long time. And I had always thought, man, what would it be like to be coached by her and by someone with so much knowledge and just knowledge in the area and everything. And so it was definitely like a full circle when she reached out to me, and I definitely had a bit of a fangirl moment. I remember we were in a grocery line actually, and I got a text from her, and I didn't believe it at first. And I showed my mom, and I'm like, Mom, you would never believe what just happened.
That's fantastic. And obviously you touched on it also, but it's worth bringing up again. Your dream team experience with Orcam over in Barcelona and meeting soccer superstar Lionel Messi.
Mm-hmm.
Just kind of walk us through that whole experience once again. Obviously you knew you were going to meet somebody big, but you didn't know who. And it was the Orcam device that told you who was standing in front of you.
Yeah, so I love soccer. I follow it, and I have definitely heard of Messi, and I was so excited I didn't know it was him. And so flying out there and stuff, they said we were going to meet someone, but we wouldn't know who until we had the glasses on. And so once I walked in the room and I put on the glasses and they said Leo Messi, I was just so happy and so excited and just couldn't believe who I was standing in front of. And I mean, he's such a legend in soccer. And so I was so excited to be standing in front of him and getting to hear his story and how he hopes to impact the blind and visually impaired community.
Great. And you got an autographed jersey out of the experience too, right?
Yep.
With your name on the back.
Yes.
All right, we have a couple questions coming in on the Facebook page I'm going to share with you. The first is, what is a sport you haven't tried but want to?
I would definitely say 5-a-side. I've played a little bit, but not like a full game. I would love to get more involved with that. I can't really think of many sports I haven't tried. I've really put myself out there. I've always thought rugby was kind of cool. But yeah, I would definitely say soccer.
Okay, that's a good one. Here's a question. When you get knocked down, how do you handle that?
I always try to look at it from an outside perspective. And I've definitely had times when I lost a game or I just felt so down about my training or even school or just anything in general. And like I said before, just trying to really have a positive mindset. And then for me, knowing, today ends and tomorrow will begin. I really try hard not to bring yesterday's problems into today's world. I really try to put it all past me and just meditate on it, pray about it, and just really work on letting things go and not letting yourself dwell in them.
Great advice. The next question comes from Cheyenne Meyer, who is one of our guides for our triathlon camps. She wants to know, would you ever want to race a triathlon?
No, I don't do distance.
Sprinter only, huh?
Yes.
Okay, well, there you go, Cheyenne. There's your answer. And the next one is, who is your Paralympic role model?
Becca Myers. She would definitely be mine. I've really looked up to her, and just seeing her follow her dreams no matter what type of situation she falls into, and she's always just positive and reaching out and letting everyone know that she supports them.
Yep, no, she's a great role model. Paralympic swimmer Becca Myers, good choice. Here's a question about your OrCam device. How does the device help you read?
I actually have it right here. So this is an OrCam device. It's pretty small. And so it hooks onto, for me, it's the right side of my glasses. And then you just tap the side of it and it takes a picture. And then there is a microphone. So while it's on your glasses, it's right next to your ear. The microphone is, or the speaker. And so once it takes a photo, it just reads it right into your ear. And it's very distinct. No one really notices it. It's very quiet. And so it's really easy and accessible to use in your day-to-day life.
Great. And my final question is, what does the rest of 2020 hold for Bailey Martin in terms of participating or training?
Still training really, really hard. Right now I'm training about twice a day and absolutely loving it. Definitely my focus is finishing out high school and getting ready for college, but I hope to do possibly some more traveling. I am recovering from a shoulder surgery, and so just recovering from that and making sure I'm fully healthy and ready to compete and at my best.
Great. Well, best of luck with your training and all your competition. I know we're going to see you in many sports because you're always involved in many sports. But thank you, Bailey, for taking the time to share a youth perspective on the importance of sports in your life.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're very welcome. And we just want to remind everybody, we have one more session for today's opening day of National Blind Sports Week. You tune in at 7 p.m. tonight for an athlete advocacy panel hosted by American Council of the Blind's Clark Rockfell. And then tomorrow morning, beginning at noon, beginning at noon Eastern, we will be live from our U.S. Paralympic training site in Fort Wayne, Indiana, where our men's and women's goalball teams are hard at work training for the Paralympic Games in Tokyo next summer. Tomorrow's session will include an educational webinar with our national team coaches, a live scrimmage with our goalball resident athletes, followed by an open Q&A session with the athletes. So you won't want to miss that tomorrow right here on the Facebook page. And don't forget to participate in your favorite activity this Saturday, October 3rd, in celebration of National Blind Sports Day. Once again, I want to thank Bailey Martin for being our guest today, and we'll see you later this week, everybody. Take care.